So what are statement questions? They literally just test your recall ability. So, yes, they want to test your critical thinking skills, but they also want to test that you actually know and remember your material, your content. So these questions are going to be quite straightforward in the sense that they're not extra content or anything. They're going to be something that you've definitely been taught, something from your specification directly. There's going to be some context from which you'll need to sort of it guides, which part of the specification you need to think about, and what are the command words going to look like? They're going to be state, define, name, give. So for instance, give two types of something, two types of proteins. Name the something. Which of the following, in the case of multiple choice questions mainly. Oh, sorry, let me just get the pen out. This is mainly for MCQs. Define the term. It's going to look something like that. So there'll be the pure command word and a little bit of context. Let's look at an example. So you're going to, and your answers are going to be quite short for these ones. You don't have to justify or explain. This will not only, spend quite a bit of time, which is very precious in an exam, but you might actually even lose marks if what you say is not exactly correct for what we call contradictory explanation. Of course, you have to make sure that you have a really good command of the appropriate key terms to use correctly. And so it's actually quite a good idea. You often have a glossary in your textbook, or you might have one from your school notes. And it's a really good idea for your definitions to just have them in a standardized phrasing. So you don't even have to think when you're writing them down, almost. You always think, of course, but. So let's see an example. There's a debate about the name of one species of snake, of one of these species of snake. Some scientists name it Liasis papuana, and other scientists name it Apodora papuana. Give the name of the taxon about which the scientists disagree. So sorry, I thought there was going to be something popping up. So let's break this question down before we see the answer. And let's break it down into context, command, and direction. So our context, I'll just try to really sort of stick to the color coding here to kind of help you throughout to begin to formulate that pattern in your head. So my context is the names of the snakes that the scientists disagree about. So context here. My command word, that's relatively simple to identify. My command word is give the name. So I know that it's a command word. So I know that it's a simple sort of, I also see the other clue that it's worth 1 mark. So I know I'm going to have to give a short answer. And finally, my direction is the taxon about which the scientists disagree. So this tells me exactly what my answer has to sort of center around, what the key information I need to include in my answer. So the answer is genus, the genus or the genera. Genus is singular and genera is plural because it's a Latin word. So I just want to say that in this exam session, I'm not going to really be going into the sort of the reasoning and the justification why this answer is correct or not, because that's not the scope of this session. We're going to have plenty of chance to do that when we cover the individual chapters in the following sessions. So now we're just focusing on breaking down the question, literally on exam technique. Briefly though, here, we can see that the name of the genus basically is different between them, so they disagree about the genus. Right, so if I have a sort of definition type question, again, it's going to be a short sentence, maybe not just the one word, but it's going to be a short sentence. or a bullet point answer. And again, it's worth memorizing, as I said before, with standard wording. So you don't have to sit there in the exam pondering about how to phrase something. And of course, you need to be as specific as possible. You need to make sure that you're utilizing all of the keywords that you've learned for that part of the specification. So, for instance, the effects of light intensity and temperature on the net primary productivity of young willow trees were investigated. State what is meant by the term net primary productivity. So again, same kind of technique. Let's break this down into the three parts that we've learned. What is my context? So my context is basically this entire first sentence here. So I know that I'm going to have to talk about the effect, context here. I know that I'm going to have to talk about the effect of light on basically photosynthesis and productivity. Sorry, I just forgot to mention one quick thing, which is that the answers to the questions, to the exam questions, will be sent to you, and I'll explain how exactly a little bit later in the session. So the booklets that you've got in front of you now don't have the answers, but you will receive them. So don't worry too much about writing down in detail every single exam model answer. The only thing that will not be sent to you and is not in your booklets are any sort of like hand-drawn annotations that I do on these exam questions or later in the diagrams in the presentation. So that might be the only thing that you want to be, if you want to be sort of jotting down as you follow the course. Anything that you see me writing by hand, you want to try and copy it as much as you can. And anything that is like a printed writing is going to be sent to you. So don't worry about writing all of that down. Okay. So, and if you've got colored pens next to you, do try to use that same kind of color pattern. It's really going to help your brain to get in that mode. So, context. I know what part of the specification I'm going to talk about. It's going to be photosynthesis and the effect of light. What is my command word? My command words, just switch colors to make it easier. My command word is that I'm going to have to state the term. That's exactly what I'm going to have to do. And finally, what is my direction? My direction is that I'm going to have to state the net, oops, sorry, I didn't change color, sorry about that. The term net primary productivity, that's what I have to define. So, and this is where we have a little bit of examiner wisdom. When you're asked to explain or define a scientific term, do not take words directly from the question stem because you don't demonstrate any additional knowledge to the examiner. It wastes time and it looks to the examiner like you're just trying to sort of fill the space. So don't do that. If we look at the answer, we just basically see a sort of very standard definition of what net primary productivity is. The rate at which plants convert light energy into the chemical energy stored in biomass in a given area in a given amount of time, minus the energy lost due to respiration. The definition itself is not what we're dealing with here in this session, but you see that it's a very sort of standard worded definition, appropriate use of keywords, and including enough detail.